Here we go with round 1. We are on the draw, but we have a nice hand here with the option of bloodthirsting our Berserker on turn 2 and then strip mining something. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's going to be able to block, but still things aren't looking too bad. So here it's either between Jackal and Maniac. I'm going to go with the Maniac. The disadvantage of the Maniac is more likely to matter later on in the game, and I'm hoping that he isn't going to have a card to block the Maniac profitably. And if he takes it because he does have a more expensive card to block here, then we get to Bloodthirst the Berserker, which is very good. Okay. Just going to run out the Berserker as fast as possible here. And it might get countered, no. So Weathered Wayfarer not doing anything on the play here. And our opponent is under quite a bit of pressure with our handful of creatures. We have to be aware that with Countryside Crusher, if it survives, we aren't drawing any more lands. So if we drop that, we probably don't want to strip mine our opponent. However, it's kind of... It looks like a good play to just strip mine his planes here. Just because he might be sitting on very powerful cards that we don't want to face, like Gideon. And he could also have the mass removal we already talked about. So alternatively, we could Torch Fiend the Felwar Stone. But I like to try to get him off one of his colors here. If he floats a white, then we have to expect him to have something like a Mana Tithe. But I'm not too sure if we actually want to play around that. I think we just go for Jackalpub Lavamancer with a Lavamancer activation waiting. I'm assuming that he isn't able to use the red mana. We haven't seen any indication of that. Very interesting. We see a swamp. So could be a 3-color deck, could be even a 5-color deck or something, so who knows. I don't know if I need to shoot that. If it's a shapeshifter, it's not a big deal. And if it's an Exalted Angel, it isn't getting flipped anytime soon, so I think we can attack first and see what happens. There was an Exalted Angel in the draft, so that might actually be it. No, it's a Willbender. Okay. Yeah, with our hand, I'm actually happy to trade creatures, because we have more coming, and now we have the Giant Crusher with either the Lavamancer activation or Torch Fiend on Felwar Stone coming up. So we didn't hit a land off the Crusher, but that's fine. He's on 12, so we bring him down to 5. And then Torch Fiend his Felwar Stone. Let's see if the Torch Fiend resolves. I have to assume that he is either constrained on white mana or he has very expensive cards in hand. So killing that Fallow Stone here makes it impossible for him to drop a 6-drop, but with our board he would have to have something very powerful anyway. So I'm not too sure what we are up against, to be honest. I don't really know where we should take this. Smash to Smithereens sounds like an addition that we could make. We saw the Fallow Stone, but overall he didn't really show us too much. Also, Fallow Stone does only give him red mana, so it's probably one of the weaker cards in his deck. Yeah, I believe we just stick to our main strategy, and maybe we can gain some more information in game 2. Another great hand here, without a doubt. I think the most important question is what the white in his deck is for, because it has the highest potential to become a problem for us. But with our curve and our draws, with the Sulfuric Vortex in hand, his multicolor control deck should have some trouble. Next time we're going to have the decision between Mock War Marshal and Blood Knight. And Blood Knight doesn't cost Echo and hits for 2 just on its own. So I think that's a pretty easy decision. It's possible that he just blocks here. Mikaros isn't accomplishing much, but it looks like he has different plans. So that still gives us the option of going for the War Marshal or the Vortex next turn. Might actually be the best bet to just play the Vortex as quickly as possible. And then we still have the Mutavault to attack next turn, and we can drop the War Marshal on 4. Well, the Berserker changes things a little bit. Okay, interestingly enough, our opponent decided to block now, which means he just took 2 additional damage. It's still possible that it's correct to run out the Vortex here, but the Berserker deals more damage, and we aren't sure if the Vortex on its own is going to be able to win this game. We get a Tinker. Probably the Lifelink Sphinx. Yeah. It's very good that we have some protection from that, because he isn't going to be able to block the Blood Knight or the Berserker. So now the question becomes if he can deal with the Vortex. Okay, I was afraid there for a second he somehow blocked the Berserker, but of course that doesn't work. So we just drop the Vortex here and hope that it resolves. So he's going down to 9. We deal him 5, which means that we can't win next turn. So he's going to get in 2 hits with the Sphinx, bringing us down to 8, and we take 2 from the Vortex. So it should be close, but if he doesn't have anything too insane, then we should be fine. Hexproof. Okay, I guess that's sufficiently good. Still no great draws here. Now, if we just attack with everything, he could block the Blood Knight with the Revenant, but then he takes 3 from the Berserker. Or he could double block the Berserker, but then he takes 2 from the Knight. We also have that Mutavault that could attack. If you attack with the Mutavault, he blocks the Blood Knight with the Revenant and the Mutavault with the Sphinx, but goes down to 6. Then we have the War Marshal, which isn't amazing, I guess. So yeah, if we don't attack with a lot of creatures, then we will always not deal too much damage. So I think, well, if we activate the Mutavault, we actually lose 2 creatures. And if we attack with only these 2, then we are guaranteed to only lose 1 creature. But then this time it's going to be the Berserker. And the Berserker is somehow worth more than the other creatures, I believe. His blocks are easy, so I'm going to run out the War Marshal to know if he has a Force of Will or something. Yeah, he figured it out. He needs to block like this to prevent more damage to him. Almost hoping that he attacks with the Revenant here so that we can block with the War Marshal and have a hasty Goblin next turn. Otherwise we are just going to be forced to pay the Echo, even though we could draw a 4-drop or a Sword of Fire and Ice to win. It doesn't seem like his deck plays too many creatures, so we might be fine here. We still have a lot of great draws. It's just that if we pay the Echo, then there's a few cards that we can't draw. But I believe he still needs something first to survive here. If he blocks our 2 1/1s, he takes 3 and dies in his upkeep. And if he blocks the Berserker, he takes 2 and dies in his upkeep. So yeah, my opponent has quite a lot of cards here that guarantee his survival. Oust doesn't gain any life, but we don't really want him to get rid of our Berserker, so that's going to the graveyard, a very easy decision. So it doesn't really matter what we give him here. He has played his land already, and if he has a Snapcast, he has to cast it as a blocker. We could also just give him the Willbender, but I'm paying Echo next turn, so I'm not too sure here. If he has the if he plays the Wayfarer, he still has a blue up that might be relevant. So I kind of want to force him to tap out here with either Willbender or Snapcaster Mage, and I can force him to do that. So as I know that I'm paying Echo, I won't play towards drawing Hero of Oxid Ridge, so I'm just going to give him the 2 blue cards, then he can play one of them. We need to basically win this turn anyway. I hope that he can't do something with the Snapcaster in his upkeep, But he has only gifts in his graveyard, so don't think that's a problem. So here we have quite a lot of draw steps that are pretty good, and we'll have to see what happens. Like I said, we could play towards drawing something else. Yeah, we could probably just check this really quickly. So, oh, that was absolutely wrong. Now, if we load our deck, we can see which cards we don't have as outs if we play it like this. Now, most of the cards are good. I think that Torch Fiend doesn't work because the Sphinx has protection from red. Ember Hauler does it. All the burn spells do it. So this isn't really a question. They all work. Now Spike Shot Elder would need 4 mana maybe. Let's see if Spike Shot Elder does anything here. Now he dropped the 2 toughness creature, and shooting 1 to him isn't going to be enough. So, well, let's see. If he blocks the Berserker with both, then no. If we don't play the Echo, then we have 1 less attacker. So that doesn't work. Now, it's basically sort of Fire and Ice and Hero of Oxid Ridge that aren't winning us the game if we pay the Echo. The Hero makes the Willbunner unable to block, and then we have 3 creatures, so the Hero is lethal and the Sword is lethal for obvious reasons. Now, if we keep the War Marshal around, we still need to draw something to beat this board. And the question is, what can we actually draw to beat this board where we need the War Marshal to survive? If there isn't anything, then we can just let the War Marshal die. And the way I see it, there is that Ball Lightning, which we are going to have to analyze. The other cards are all fine with only 3 mana, so not too sure about that Barbarian Ring. I think we are far away from having Threshold. So if we draw Ball Lightning but let our War Marshal die, then we are actually not winning. But if we keep it alive, then the Ball Lightning wins because our opponent has to take too much damage. So, given that we have 2 cards that win the game if we don't pay Echo, and 1 card that wins the game if we do pay Echo, I believe it's correct to not play the Echo cost, if I'm not mistaken here. So I'm actually going to not pay Echo and hope that we didn't mess up the calculations here. And Strip Mine. That isn't enough. So we are just dead here. Yeah, too bad. And there's the Ball Lightning that wouldn't have won because of the line we took. Okay, good to know. We are facing the Lifelink Sphinx. We don't have too many ways to interact with it because our red cards don't really deal with it. We do have Vortex and cards like Sword of Fire and Ice to circumvent the problem a little bit, but we probably want Smash the Smithereens just to have a way to kill an artifact very early to protect against Tinker. I think that's actually quite relevant. It seems like it's one of the ways for him to win, basically. And we should be fine otherwise. He's playing a lot of small creatures, but don't see much we can do about that. So what we could do is to try to tap the Sphinx with the ice. That's not really a long-term plan, but maybe we can play this Wolf of Falls. Hopefully it doesn't backfire. And what do we cut? I think it's either a card like Terrain Mauler that isn't very threatening, or Devil's Play, but I think burning him out is still our main plan, and our best plan, basically. So, could take out Mork War Marshal. It's never going to be insane. Yeah, let's just drop the War Marshal and keep the 3-drop. Okay. We have quite a nice hand again. We can't really complain about that, about our draws at all. He's playing a deck that does quite a good job of stopping our early assault. But if he doesn't have a creature here, he's in for quite a lot of damage. And we can even prevent an early Tinker with Torch Fiend. Our opponent isn't shuffling. Always the same. So, we haven't drawn a land yet, but we have quite a lot of burn. Thank God he doesn't have an artifact. That's very good for us. It's possible that he's flashing in Snapcaster, no? I think we just drop all the one drops here. Don't see any reason to play around mass removal with the burn plan we are pursuing. And Essence Scatter is also fine. Now, even if he has a card like Day of Judgment, which he still needs the right mana for and so on, then our hand is easily able to deal with what he's trying to do. It's also possible that he has a card like Felwar Stone and is just waiting on using it, basically. I think I'm forced to blow up the relic. Might be wrong, but if he doesn't get the Sphinx into play, I don't really see us losing with our hand. And given that we have the Vortex and we could have played it, maybe we were safe anyway, but I'd rather not risk it. And this way he's still forced to deal with our board. So here he is sacrificing an untapped Plains. I believe you can tap it first. Yeah, he just didn't do that. So now, not too sure what his plan is. Going to incinerate him. So here we have basically two lines. We can shoot the soldier and bring him down to 3. Or we let the soldier block the maniac, bring him down to 5 and drop the vortex. Dropping the vortex is a lot safer against life gain. And it's also better against mass removal. So I think that's better. We are threatening lethal with the Spike Shot Elder activation, so don't know if he has anything to get out of that. No, looks like our mono red deck advances to the next round.